you're making decisions all the time. And when you do, you're thinking about what the benefits are of the decision and what the costs are of the decision. And the truth is about drugs, and this is one of the things that we need to, talk about with students of your age, is that there's really very little, there's like no benefit, and there are so many downsides. I go into the prisons pretty often in Delaware. I just went in last week. And unfortunately, so many of the people in our prisons are there, and it started because they started to do a drug. And what happens is people become so desperate. If you get addicted to one of these drugs, you get so desperate that you'll do anything to get the money so you can buy the next round of drugs. And if you don't have a job, and the truth is, if you're on drugs, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to have a job because you're not going to be a reliable employee and nobody's going to want to keep you. And so then you commit some kind of crime and you end up in prison. It's not worth it. And our job is to make sure we're having these kinds of honest conversations with you about it. And your job is to pay attention and to make, because in the end, your parents, your teachers, they're not going to be able to make your decisions. Only you are. That was a long answer to your question, but do you understand?
But it was a good question.
Yeah, it was a great question. Hopefully it was a good answer too. Who else?
What advice do you think you could give us or others to succeed in life?
Wow, that's a big question. So, well, I think a couple things. So first of all, it really is important. As I mentioned, when I was younger, I wanted to be a professional athlete, or let's say I wanted to be a professional singer.
Anybody think like him?
Yeah. And it's good to have those dreams, and it's good to go for it, but the truth is those are like so competitive, and even people who are unbelievably talented. There's a young woman who's probably now in the 11th grade. She goes to a school about 10 minutes from here. And she's come to my office a few times over the last few years to sing to me. And I think her voice is amazing. If she were here today to sing to you, you would say that's like the best voice you've ever heard. She sang, Adele, the singer Adele. She sang this Adele song for me, and I thought it was Adele. I mean, she was that good. But her mom, we keep in touch, and she just tried out for The Voice, and she got to like the third round tryout, but The Voice said, sorry, not quite good enough. And she is amazing. So the point is, it's good to have dreams, but it's also really important to have a fallback, because for almost all of us, let me put it this way, I went to high school, and I went to high school with some incredible athletes, the best. They were all state, and some of them wanted to become professional athletes, and actually none of them made it. Some of them played in college, but none of them made it. So it's good to have those dreams and those interests, but it's also good to have something to fall back on, like most of us need. So working hard in school is definitely high on the list. Learning to get along with people is really important. Anybody hear of the term IQ? You know what IQ is? It's sort of a measurement of intelligence, and it's lots of people focus on it, but there's something else called EQ. You know what EQ stands for? Emotional. So the IQ is intelligence quotient. Quotient sort of like a number or a rating. Emotional quotient. What do you think that means? Emotional quotient. Well, that's a good way of looking at it. And that is an emotion. What people mean when they refer to it the way I am, it means, do you get along with people? Do you know how to interact? Can you work together as a team? Those kinds of things. And so learning to understand other people, one of the best pieces of advice that my dad gave me, which I'm really glad I listened to, he said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. Because when we're talking, we don't learn anything. Right? But when we listen, we do learn something. And so I think learning to be a good listener and really focusing on your schoolwork and learning to get along with other people, I think if somebody told me that in 5th grade, I think that would have been pretty good advice. What do you think, Dr. Clay? Yes. And this is, you've got such a great superintendent in your school district, somebody who obviously is incredibly intelligent, but he also knows how to get along with people. And by the way, getting along with people doesn't mean, well, just being a pushover and agreeing to everything that other people want you to do. What it means is understanding what other people are trying to achieve, and then bringing people together, because we're all more effective when we join together to get something done. Who else? Any other questions?
Yes. Marcus, are you next? Make sure you use your voice.
Can you run in the hall to the office?
Can I run in the hall to the office? Like at where my office is? We try not to. You know, somebody wrote a great book once. It's something like everything you ever need to know in life you learn in kindergarten. Have you heard of that book? Is that right, Ms. Keister?
Yeah, there's ones like that.
It's something like that. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Because if you think about the things that you learn in kindergarten, it is a lot about how to get along with people. It's about being respectful. And so generally, the reason we don't tend to run in the halls is because there might be other people in the halls or coming out of their offices, and we don't want to knock them over. Now, that's not to say we don't find places to run. Like I took my dog for a great run this morning outside. But we try to really practice a lot of what we learned in kindergarten, and that's one good example. Who else?
Who is next after Marcus?
Why did you want to be a governor?
So why did I want to be a governor? I wanted to be a governor, and it really goes back to that first dream that I talked about. I thought, boy, being a governor is a great way to help people. Because I get to work on things not only that will make a difference next week and next month, it could be around the addiction issue, it could be around creating more jobs, but it could be around issues of education. And that will have a benefit for not just next month and not just next year, but for years to come. And my favorite part of the job by far is to meet people whose life is a little bit better, a little bit different because of something that I've done, and seeing how they're progressing through life. Anybody else?
Who's after Manny? Ethan.
Did you want to be a governor when you were a kid?
I started to think about it, really, remember what I said earlier about when I was 17? That was the first time, and I didn't know then that it would end up being governor, but that was when I started to think about doing something to help others. When I was a kid, I was focused on, like, you know, going down to the park right after school to play with my friends. And, you know, things like that. And so I'd say when I was a teenager, that's when and sort of a late teenager, that's when my view started to change about that.
Who's after Manny? Ethan.
What is your favorite part?
Boys, we can't hear you back here.
What is your favorite part about being a governor?
My favorite part of being a governor is I love, first of all, coming into schools and talking to students. But I think, you know, as I said a moment ago, when I get to meet somebody who maybe they got a job because of something that we did. Maybe they're able to study something in school. This is something that you'll see when you're a senior. I just met with a bunch of students from William Penn who were studying, I think, allied health. And these students, so this is not, I mean, you're in 5th grade, and these were probably like 10th graders, 11th graders. So, you know, not that long from now, you're going to be, most of you, if not all of you, are going to be at William Penn. And there are so many great programs and opportunities that you're going to be able to participate in when you get there that's going to, like, help you get on a great track for life, just as what you're doing right here is. But that's what I love best, is when I get to see people whose life is better than it would have been otherwise if not for some kind of new thing that we've come up with. Does that make sense? Who else?
Yeah, Jalen's going to ask Mackenzie's question.
What was it like at your school?
So I went to all the schools down in Newark, in what's now the Christina School District. It used to be the Newark School District. So